So what you see now is a graphic that was built in Tidler Live. It's actually a template that I just changed to what I wanted for today. I didn't figure we should have a graphics presentation without some graphics. So gonna mess it up for a moment there. I'm Tom White. I think you guys, for the most part, who are here in the live session know who I am. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat, unmute the mic, what have you. That's why I keep looking over here, because that is where my monitor of the Google Meet is. So this is Tidler Live. It is a really, really robust titling system. And now I'm using Tidler Live broadcasted version, which is a paid version. It's really inexpensive for what it is. Honestly, I can't complain about what it does. So interface real quick, and what I wanted to do was show off a couple of graphics, and then we're going to build a show. We're actually going to use some of the content from the last show we did, which kind of made me sad as I pulled that up a little bit ago. And we're going to use that to kind of build a show. I'm going to show you the ins and outs of that. Here is your playlist window. You can have I have yet to max it out, and I've had a ton of graphics in here. And what I'm going to show you is, if you have a ton of graphics, then it really is a really cool thing that you can do. There are a lot of really cool things you can do. So your playlist, here is your live monitor. You have a variety of outputs here. You can see I'm using NDI. My setup right now is I have a laptop over here that is receiving NDI through Studio Monitor. I'm routing that through my ATEM Mini, and that's how I'm switching the show today. So that's how I can have all three windows. This third shot is the actual NDI feed. And then down here is your edit and preview. Here is how easy this is to edit once you have the graphic built. Edit this. And now you see here it is going through a cache process. The more complex the graphic is, the longer it takes to cache. And you're going to see that, lower thirds, that kind of stuff, are a snap to get going. And now, edit this. Today's session will begin soon is now live. It's that quick and simple. So as we look at Tidler Live, when you're using NDI, let me back up. These outputs, you can take HDMI. It's going to give you a keyed image, and that keyed image you can just run into, say, any switcher. I used it originally with Blackmagic's ATEM Mini or ATEM TV Studio. I've used it with Wirecast. I've used it with my TriCaster as a keyed signal. With NDI, NDI opens up a whole new world of stuff. AirSend is a kind of antiquated use for the TriCaster. Watch folder, I've never used it. PNG sequence, I've never used it. And I have used direct in OBS. It also works the same way in Wirecast. You literally bring it in as an input in OBS or Wirecast, and it just takes your feed. For NDI, the thing that I like the most is, see, I have playlist 1 here. If I want to change this to playlist 2, I can have a whole nother playlist of content. And where that's important is, let's say I'm doing a sports show and I want just a rotating bug, and I can set it up in that, bring it in as its own input, and just let it play throughout. There are a lot of ways to do that. You could separate shows that way. I could rename it, whatever, to make it, so it's morning show, afternoon show, sports, what have you. So I'm going to get started now with the building of this show. And if you go to the library here, these are the design templates. You don't have to use them, but I'll be perfectly honest with you. If you can't find something that you can manipulate into something you can use, you've got expectations that are beyond most graphic softwares. You're gonna get into those $high softwares. So let's go with On-Air Collection, and let's build a lower third. Actually, you know what? I want to go to price. Adam, they have a variety of packages. Let me slide over here real quick and answer that. I think the most expensive is like $2,500. Tyler Live. The most expensive is $29.99, so it's $3,000, and it is worth it completely. So they start with Tyler Live Present, which is $449. Social, which gets you the social media collection, which if your school system will open up social media for whatever machine you're using it on, you can pull live content from a social media source. I'm hovering over now and it shows you a preview of the animation and the graphic. So for this, if I wanted to pull Susan Sunry's picture as well as her comment or what have you, you can pull it live with that. They also have Tyler Live Sport, which gets you the scoreboards and the related info there. We'll get into how to feed these scoreboards later. Really a ton of ways to do that. And then Tyler Live Complete is $949, which includes Present, Social, and Sport. And the broadcast is all of that plus a ton more templates. So let's go to, I got to remember which one I like. I want to say it's Prime Time. It is. So Fashionista is the one that we use for MCHS Live News. Really simple. Like if I wanted to right now, I could hit, well, let's let it cache. But if you don't let it cache, it just pops up. Okay. And I'm just going to leave the overlay up on it like that instead of having to switch camera angles. But if you let it cache, you'll get your full animation like that. So really easy to manipulate. So I could come down here, hit enter. If you don't hit enter, it will not do. And there we go. So now it's cached. It is live that quickly. Manipulating color, really simple. You hit edit title design and click right here. Boom. Now we're red because go dogs. And once again, a quick cache cycle and go. So when you're building these graphics, it's that simple. I mean, it really is that simple to do. You can hover over and see all of that stuff. And when I first started using Tyler Live, I used it wrong. I would come in and I would duplicate and I would come down here and I would change a name. And then, I would have 30, 40 titles. Totally a waste of time. Because if you come here, and this is where the power of Tyler Live really comes in for what we do. Last semester when we closed out, we were doing 2 news shows a day and just a lot of content coming in. And so it was difficult for kids to come in and create a specific graphic. But what I could teach them to do is create inside a spreadsheet. So these are, when you click on inputs, these are the different places that you can get content from. And, I talked a minute ago about getting sports content. If you have a sports cast, it will pull these in. Data link, if you're using a TriCaster and you're inputting things that way, it'll actually backfill to Tyler Live and then back to TriCaster if you like the graphics better. Clocks, literally just a clock. Scoreboard tool, really quite simple. You just, here, it's got scoreboard. There's nothing too crazy about that one. But the power comes in, and really XML Watcher, RSS Reader, and Spreadsheet. XML Watcher, you go to a website, you find an XML feed, and it will pull in the content, and you just click on the pieces that you want. Same thing with RSS Reader. This is how we did weather and temp this year in our graphics. It just pulled straight in. But Spreadsheet's the power. This is where we really jumped in. There we go. By the way, 3/11/20, sad day, our last broadcast of the year. So now, if I come here, why is it not binding? Oh, I know why. Because I need to show inputs and I need to put heading. I just click and drag name and subheading. There we go. So now let me push this. It's still caching. And again, kid comes in, gets going. It's not going to take too long to get going. But you see here, all I have to do to change that graphic is click. So you know, if you got a show with a ton of graphics that you want to push out, it's really that easy. Now, here's where the power really comes in. These hotkeys. So I literally have a kid who their graphics job, they'll hit number 1 as the story starts, leave it up long enough for it to make sense. Number 1 back out. They'll click down here, number 2, and then, it looks like this in the actual broadcast. And the number of hotkeys is unlimited. Now, I will say one thing. If Tyler Live is open and you go to type, let's say you did 1 as the hotkey, you're not going to be able to use the 1 if Tyler Live is open. So it's a little tricky. We usually use the number pad, as you see here with num 1 and 2. But so let's make that 0. So now up and down, the graphics in and out that way. So again, really, really quite simple. We'll go in and do let's say we're going to do let's do something about basketball. So here is a stupid graphic they have. If I wanted to go in and create a spreadsheet and swap this out with player images, player names, I could do all of that in a spreadsheet and then populate it that way. I don't have that because I deleted all of that at the end of basketball season. But the title editing is really, really simple. And 32, he averages 1 point a game. These are like my numbers. Oh, and you see what I did there? When I went to the number pad, I fired those graphics. And though that will cause a kid to freak out if you're in a live show. I can change this, and I'm going to make it to gym. So you see kind of how, and then inside of the editor here, you have all of the layers. So it's just like After Effects or Photoshop or Premiere Pro, in that you can go in and manipulate really whatever you want. So here I'm going to manipulate the player image. I'm going to drop the opacity and I can't find my scale. I usually just go in there and click, but because it's in a group, it's a little tougher to do. So really, really quite simple. Going to hit this, keep it. It's going to be a very bad graphic. This one will take a little bit longer to actually cache in. Now, you can set the graphics up as a playlist. And if you're using something like Wirecast and you're using the NDI feed, it will actually automatically switch your graphics back and forth. Sorry, you got to holler at me if I put the wrong thing up. It'll automatically switch your graphics back and forth. So here's that graphic you guys didn't see me editing just a moment ago. Let me go back in. So I'm going to click here, switch that graphic. Boom. And let's go logo. So now there's our logo. If I wanted to break that group up, I could ungroup, copy. Okay. Now I can go in and really manipulate the graphic. And what I did when I released the group is I threw the 3D off. So that's why it doesn't have that. But if you mess up, hit discard, comes back. It is back to what you had at your last save. Again, tons and tons of stuff. I want to show sports because that is where the real power comes in for this for me outside of news. So I'm going to drag this football graphic in. And here it is. Quite simple. Now, I'm going to click and go to Sports, Scoreboard Tool, Football. And now, let me just make it live. So you see that it doesn't have all the graphics in. I'm going to change this to them and change the home to us. And you see how quickly once it's done caching. But you have all of these options. So if you don't want to show the game clock or the play clock, your quarter, any of that stuff, you don't have to. Now, the beauty of this is if you send this link to a student. So let's say you're at the basketball game and you have a student who, let's be honest, isn't good on camera, isn't really good at graphics, but can look at the scoreboard and keep up with time. You can send them this link and they can sit in the gym and control your graphic remotely. So you see it says us and them. Well, they scored 6 points and there you go, touchdown. And you see it animated that graphic automatically. So if you don't have a sportscast or another scoreboard monitoring tool, this is a great way to do that remotely. So for me, I'll put a kid down at this on the basketball on the court at the gym, and they can keep the score from there and not have to, really, they don't have to be connected to you, I guess is the best way of saying it. They don't even have to be there. I mean, as long as they can get to that, they're good to go. All right. Thank you, Stephen. The multi-screen thing is killing me. So the other things that you can do, again, full screen graphics. It will play audio out. So if you want to drop audio in, tons and tons of things that you can do. Here's a whole bank of lower thirds. So let's drop this one in. And as they update the software, they do a pretty good job of updating the looks so they're not all exactly the same. And again, and we've all been in this game long enough to know that when someone's editing something in Premiere, we know it was edited in Premiere because they all look the same. There's not a lot of changing you can do. But with this, I mean, I could pull this down, and you can't edit, obviously, while it's live. But let's say I just want this in this corner. Click here, and you're not going to be able to see it because it'll be actually, yeah, you may be able to. So now fire that, and now it's over in that corner. So let's say you for me, if I promoting another sports broadcast, I would put, next volleyball match Tuesday, and you drop it in the corner, and it looks like that broadcast feel of promoting other content. So there's the full animated piece. And if you guys have any questions, don't hesitate to ask, unmute your mics, what have you. I'm not worried about being distracted. I'll do that well enough myself. There's crawls. This is a lot of really, it's one of the things that kind of set our news show apart in the minds of a lot of our teachers, was that we could do a crawl. So again, let's say you don't have a spreadsheet. If you come to here and create a new spreadsheet, and we're going to create a file, and we're going to call it crawl. Now, if I go here, and that's in my graphics folder. So crawl, there it is. So now, welcome to Camp T and I miss Kevin's shrimp and grits, Dean's rocks. I'm going to save this, and it's down here. Now, autoplay, it'll play automatically when you fire it. There you go. So you can do all of your announcements completely through this lower third graphic. Now, let's say you decide you want to change it because you don't really like it. Come in here, and I think stick is the one we used. Yep. Okay. So now this one's a little different because you have your ESPN style heading and then your message. So again, go in here, new spreadsheet. You don't have to necessarily make a new spreadsheet, but what'll happen is it'll create the right files for what you need. Crawl. Go back here, second crawl. And now I have a couple of things. I've now added small bar color. So that is red, by the way. Football game tomorrow at home, 7 p.m. Now I'm going to save that, and it will have populated into Tyler Live. Okay, so boom, I'll take this out, push that in, and there you go. One of the things that I didn't like about this graphic was that it constantly moved, and I didn't like that the title was at the right-hand side. So we went in and selected this and this and did this, and this, and let's push those up a little bit. And you can change your background. So like for here, the black is tough to see. I go into view and background, I can do gray, white, checkerboard, which is what I'll do here. And you can nudge with arrows. So now I have that, but then I want to change the thing from a roll. So there we go. So now I'm going to hit save. And it's different. Boom. And it'll stay up the entire time. So pretty impactful there. And again, I can go back in and I can go in live. So if I want to change this wins at Monroe area, and then, if I want to create a different color for a different effect or what have you. So now probably by the time I get back, there it goes. It's playing out already. So really, really, the sky's the limit. I hate saying that phrase. I think it's overused, but it really is. However you want to get creative with it. We've done things with speech bubbles where we've put a speech bubble over someone. I don't remember what folder that's in. There's a lot of graphics that we would never, ever, ever, ever use. But, something like this, if you're doing something with the football team and their locker room, let's say they get locker room improvements, you could do, something like this, and it's not animating because it's not cached. Cool. Checking the chat. Any questions? Anything you guys want to see? I am open to kind of get whatever you guys. There's man cave, and if I put this here, we are now in my man cave, but let's change that. And you see, the other thing I didn't say, you can run several graphics at one time. So I have that one, and let's put my lower third up, and now it looks like a big show. So let's say you have a show name, the studio or what have you. You can go in and literally that quickly change it. Let's pull these. And you can also hit all off, which will kill everything, which is a nice thing when a kid gets a little click happy and pushes lots of buttons. You can go that way. But again, the hotkeys are really, we used the same hotkeys all year. So by the time the kid got, by the time all the kids got a couple rotations through working graphics, they knew how to hit the hotkeys and make them do what they wanted. And they literally, it was almost like they wouldn't look, because they would just, they would fire the graphic, and then what do we make it, 0? And so the kid, and I know you can't see my hands, but the kid would literally just hit 0 and then hit down, and then 0, and they would hit the down arrow. And you can hit the down arrow and go live. So let's say they miss a transition in a graphic, or you need multiple lines for a story or what have you. It'll change live. So if you're trying to, one of the things that we used it for last year were these homecoming announcements, the queens and nominees and all that. You just put them up and you just fire through the names. Okay. All right. Any questions?
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
So what version, I know you do a lot of live broadcasting, and and you have like the ultimate version here. What version, if I'm going to do a middle school news program and just want to run it for that, what would be the best version to use?
You could use the Tyler Live Present. That's going to give you, you're going to have the Excel spreadsheets. You're going to have all of those things that you want. You're going to have the lower thirds. And it's a great place to start.
And how much is it?
$449
per year.
No, this is not per year. This is a flat fee.
Okay.
So yeah, it's Tyler Live 4 is what's out now. Last week I called to make sure they aren't pushing Tyler Live 5 next week or something stupid like that, and they said that they haven't done any development in the last little bit. So I don't think you're going to have to worry. And honestly, I have used Tyler Live, literally Tyler Live 1, and it's still active. It still works. It just isn't as polished. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the current version does.
Okay, thanks.
Cool. Anybody else? Trying to think if there's anything I left out. Again, the inputs are really the key. That's where. Oh, and I didn't even mention gaming. If you have an esports team and you're looking to build, make it look like what the kids are used to seeing, you can literally pull all of that stuff in. Twitch, Twitter. I've never used Tiltify. YouTube, you can do, if you have a new sponsor. Okay. So, well, I'm not going to log in, but you just log into YouTube and go from there. But to put that in there, that's why, because I put it on a graphic that wasn't ready for it. But they have done a very, very good job of. Oh, by the way, here's gaming.
Tom, I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
You at the start, you said you're using the ATM as your switcher, and you're using just one computer for the graphics, and then like a monitor for the feed, right?
That's for this presentation.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I'm on the phone, so I couldn't like see what was going on, but I just wanted to make sure. So you're literally with one computer and a switcher, you can get it done.
Oh yeah, you can do it with one computer. It will embed into, you can run it. You can send it straight to OBS. You can send it straight to Wirecast inside the same machine. I've used it inside the same machine with Wirecast. That's how I got started with it. But yeah, it's NDI. You can send HDMI. You can send a lot of different ways. But yeah, it's really, really light. I've used it on a laptop. I've used it on a laptop for a very, very long time. It's really light in terms of what it requires for operating, because it just, it's pretty quick. And when hopefully you'll go back and watch this and see, how it all, it's.
Oh yeah, I plan on it. I was just curious because at the start you were talking about it.
The gaming graphic I just loaded is pretty intense, and I think that it's the system's mad at me because I have opened a bunch of stuff, but yeah, it's really, really robust. All kinds of stuff you can do inside of here, and it works well. I use it with my TriCaster. Like I said, the NDI signal is very, very clean, but I haven't found a better graphics solution that isn't, a ROS system or something like that that is, takes 5 rack units and 6 people to understand how to do it. It's really, really very simple.
What's the learning curve on this for students?
It's really not bad, John. The first week I set it up, we'll set up the basics. So I'll set up hotkeys, I'll set up the graphics. And then after that, it really is just knowing to push the button at the right time and to, to bring up the right graphic. Let me see. So, I think any kid can, you see here is my graphics or my list. I don't know how well you can see it on your side. But when it's anchored in there, it's clean. It works. And it's, again, push the number pad, hit the graphic you want, go from there. And there's different ways you can, so here is how you set it up to do the playlist function. Let me turn all these on. So even then, hit in and out, and it goes in and out. Let me here. And then you see, as I hit in and out here, it queues up the next one. So now it's hot. And then as I take it down, it tells me that, that next one is ready to go. So if you go in and just set it up and you can tell your kid, just hit in and out when I tell you to hit in and out or what have you, really, you can make it simple, or you can just hit a hard take and pull the graphics up. I like this because then I can see which graphics are active. Other questions?
Tom, do you use this with your TriCaster as well?
Yes, this is how I serve graphics to the TriCaster.
Okay. And you connect it to the unit?
Over NDI. I use NDI for it. Yep.
Okay.
It is input 8 on our switcher, and I have it in DSK2, so it's all the way down the line. So whatever graphic is up over everything. So if we're serving an overlay or B-roll for a story, then the graphic for that story isn't buried behind that.
All right, so then I could put a separate student on that instead of having my TriCaster technician having to do so many tasks.
Yeah.
I can kind of take some of the weight off of them.
Yes, that is another reason that I really like it. And you can serve some graphics remotely on the TriCaster, but not to this level.
Mhm.
So my graphics person, they get the rundown and they sit down with the spreadsheet and they input the headline and subheadline and go from there. So it's a whole class period for that person, because then they will ask me to look at it and I will say yes or no, telling them, hey, you're using 5 words when 2 will work, or let's make it, they'll start with they'll start with the headline being music news. I'm like, nobody cares. They know it's music news. Tell them accent what they're seeing. So, and then whoever produced or whoever wrote that story, they'll come and approve it too, to make sure that the headline matches what's in the story.
Mhm. Cool.
Other questions?
Hey, Tom.
Yeah, buddy.
Can you tell me about, like, whenever you order the software, is it just one license, or do you get like a couple of licenses to put in a couple of machines? What's the deal?
2 licenses is what I believe it is. I'm almost positive that it locks at 2, because I have it on this machine in my studio, my production, or my classroom, whatever you want to call it, and then I have it on a laptop. Let me see. It doesn't say in their spreadsheet, but the difference, I'm looking down the list of the options there for the differences, like sport. It's got real-time play out. It's got all that stuff. It's got hotkeys, and then you go down the line, and it just changes different things. And you can see it at NewBlueFX.com.
Okay.
All one word, NewBlueFX, the color blue.
And that'll feed out. You can also send that to the ATM Mini Pro thing.
Yeah, and basically, it's an HDMI feed out is what
Okay.
I've got. For my laptop, when I use it in that manner, I just take that, expand the screen out, and then I'll put the key on it.
Okay.
So,
thank you.
thank you, buddy. Any other questions? Awesome. Again, I'm an open book, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We'll walk you through it. Really, I hate the word game changer because I use it too much, but it really does help. Help you do really simple things, or really complex things simply. So cool. Well, if there's no other questions, I appreciate you guys. Our next session for today is in an hour with the folks from Blackmagic. So I appreciate it. And if you guys need anything, don't hesitate to reach out. Now I got to remember which computer I'm recording on. There it is. So thank you again.